I have a problem. You see, it's easy for me to sketch up a little scene like this. It's my favourite part, getting stuck in there with all the line art. I love it. And that is a bit of a problem, you see, because when I'm done drawing up all of these nice little details, I have to render them. You may be different. Maybe you love the rendering part and you don't so much like drawing with a pencil or something, or getting those ideas out. Maybe you just like getting stuck into all of those little details with the brush, going in and describing all the different materials and stuff like that. It's not for me, but hey, everyone's different. You see, the thing about being an artist is that it's not always fun. There are good bits, there are bad bits, there are bits we enjoy and bits that we don't. And honestly, it's probably for the best. Now, why, I hear you ask, do I bother rendering if it's not the part that I like? Why don't I just stick to the line art and just have a great time the whole time? Well, it's not really possible either. I like that finished work when I'm done with a piece and it's sitting there looking at me all coloured in with all the different rendering. I love looking at it. There's a sense of accomplishment that is essential to the process of creating a piece of art. And I don't want to miss out on that. I don't want to just sketch because it's the bit that I find most enjoyable, right? Because if I just take the bits that I like and I don't bother doing the bits that I don't, I never get that full reward. I never get the full experience. It's important to go through some shitty parts so that you can appreciate the good parts, right? You need to put in the work to get the reward. And the work is sometimes not that fun. Go and sit on your couch and then tell me how much of a reward it was to sit your ass down. Then go for a 20k run, then sit on your couch and tell me which time felt better, which time felt more rewarding. It's easy, right? If you put in the work, you deserve to sit on that couch. It's going to feel much better. So, as I'm finishing up the line art for this drawing and I've been having a blast putting it together, and I'm looking at all of the detailed shapes and forms that I've put in front of myself and just seeing how big the task is ahead of me, sure, it can be intimidating. Sometimes I want to just stop and do another sketch. Keep it fun, keep it fresh, But I'm never going to get that reward of seeing what this could be if I give it 100%. And so I know that I have 20, 30 hours of just straight rendering to do to get things looking right. But I know that there's a reward there that I can't get if I quit. But hey, what if you love the rendering part? What if that is your reward? What if getting stuck into all of those little details and making sure everything looks neat is just the thing that gets you going? Well, first of all, lucky you, because there's a lot of it. But chances are, if you are really into just zoning out and doing that rendering, you have probably not been doing as much of the sketching part, the iteration, the design. And probably the piece is being held back in some way because you are not focusing enough on the thing that you don't want to do. So it just goes both ways. And I don't want to give you the wrong impression. I'm not sitting here saying I've eaten all my vegetables, so I'm allowed to have as much dessert as I want. What I'm saying is, this is something that holds me back. This is a problem that I have seen with my work. And if you're unsure of what's going wrong with your work, maybe this could give you a clue. Maybe you're suffering from the same problems. Maybe you need to focus more on that thing that you don't enjoy doing. It seems really obvious. It seems like a no-brainer. But sitting down with your spare time to do something that you're not really enjoying, well, it's not really intuitive, is it? We've just been so programmed and hardwired to expect immediate reward for almost no effort, right? We just want the goods now and we don't want to put in the work. And this whole trend has been reinforced time and time and time again by people trying to sell you dreams. Art hacks, earn $5,000 a day for just 2 hours work from the comfort of your own home. Just bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Don't buy it for a second. Think about any great person from history who you admire, right? Maybe you're a sport fan and you're really into Kobe Bryant or something like that. In his interviews, was he ever saying things like, yeah, when I started playing basketball, I was just the best. No one could touch me. I was so good at everything. I never had to practice. I just, turned up and I smashed it from day one, and I just kept smashing it and getting better. No one could ever touch me. It was the best. No one ever says that. The only story you ever hear from someone who's really great at something is that they worked their goddamn butt off and they got the reward. Here's a fun one. Look at your favorite artists. Maybe it's Evan Amundsen or Jesper Ising, two of my favorites. In their interviews, were they like, I used to suck at drawing, I was so bad at it, but then I found this video on YouTube called 10 Art Hacks, and I clicked on that and it just changed my life. Since then, I've been able to draw amazing art without ever making mistakes. I'm gonna guess that that's probably not the case. But I'm not just here to poo-poo art hacks and tell you that you haven't been working hard enough, right? What I'm trying to say is, if you are stalling out, if you're not improving, I'm going to guess that you actually know why you're not improving. And you need to learn to listen to that voice, because hell, if you're drawing a character and then you get to the legs and the feet and you can't figure out how to make it stand right, doesn't look like it's holding the weight, it just looks a little, so you end up drawing portraits all the time, well, chances are you know where you're going wrong. And chances are that you know deep down, somewhere inside, that the answer to this problem is not just to draw portraits and neglect the bottom half of your characters. It's not like I would have any personal experience on this subject. But I can tell you that portraits is not the answer. The answer is to work on figure drawing and practice specifically gestures and making sure that you have a little bit of a perspective in mind and that you plant those feet and get all of the proportions and weight of the gesture correct before you go hanging all that anatomy on there. Because if you just start by drawing the face and then try and draw the body on after, often it doesn't work out. Yeah, who would have thought that that would limit your options? And this is just one small example of a thought process that is just all too easy to fall into, and I can say that with confidence because this is one that I have fallen into myself time and time and time again. Taking the path of least resistance, doing the thing that you're good at, that you're comfortable doing, and neglecting the things that you find hard. This is basically the definition of a rut, right? You just keep doing the same thing time and time again. And in the short term, it can be quite rewarding because you end up with something that looks reasonably good every time. But in the long term, well, it's just limiting your options, isn't it? So, in the same way that a doctor will recommend that you eat a balanced diet, whole grains, vegetables, etc., with a little bit of ice cream at the end, just to make life sweet, I am recommending that you too feed yourself a creative diet that is balanced. 80% things that you find difficult, 20% the good stuff. It all seems so painfully obvious that it almost doesn't bear mentioning, but it's surprisingly easy to fall into the trap of avoiding the thing that you need to do in favor of comfort. But if you keep seeking comfort, it can be easy to lose the pressure that you need to push yourself forward. And I'm going to leave you with one last analogy. And I know, I give a lot of them, but this is another personal experience and it relates not to painting or drawing, but to music. Now, before I started drawing, I was actually a musician. I used to love playing the guitar. I played the guitar so damn much. For maybe 15 years, I played in bands, I gigged around the town, it was my way of life. But when I started playing the guitar, I never got any lessons. I didn't learn the scales or the notes. I had no understanding of the theory. Sure, I could play a mean guitar solo. I could play all my favorite Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd songs, right? I would sit down and learn every note. I would be able to riff along and jam for hours, but I didn't understand the theory of why I was doing things. And it became apparent after 15 years of playing guitar that I actually didn't really know what I was doing, and it was holding me back in a terrible way. Everything I played, everything I improvised, everything that came off the top of my head sounded the same. It was all derived from things that I had done that had worked, and I just built upon the things that worked without understanding why, and it limited me so much because I couldn't change modes or scales in a fluid way. I had no freedom to really truly improvise and create interesting music. And by the time I realized that that was what had happened, and when I saw the task ahead if I wanted to solve the problem, which was to go back to the basics and learn Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and figure out all of the notes and scales, and building a foundation under an existing building is hard. And so I gave up. Sure, I still pick up the guitar really infrequently, but I don't really play like I used to. Instead, I picked up art, painting, and I told myself that I was going to learn it in the right way. I was going to focus on the fundamentals. I was going to eat my vegetables. I was going to learn my scales. I was going to do this right so that I could create with freedom. And here I am a decade later. I'm still working on those fundamentals. I'm still chasing my weaknesses. I'm still trying to learn this art thing right. And it's an endless battle, but I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I feel like I have a plan, and I'm trying to share that plan with you. If you like drawing, if you like art and creating in general, try to focus on these fundamentals. Try to learn the scales. Try to understand what you're doing and why, so that your options are left open the whole time. So yes, I have a problem. It was easy for me to sketch this scene at the beginning. It was enjoyable for me. It was the bit I liked the most. But I know that I don't want to get stuck there, because I have goals. I want to improve with every piece. I want to get that sense of satisfaction from finishing my art. And I know now that if I want to achieve that, I have to push through and do the bits that I don't want to do. I need to work on my weaknesses. I need to focus on my fundamentals. And if I do push through and do the hard work, the reward I'm going to get at the end, that final fully realized image, is going to be far greater than any sense of reward I would get for staying in my comfort zone. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This one did take a little bit longer to do just because, well, I had to finish it. I had to eat my vegetables. But I hope that you can see that the result, well, it speaks for itself. Are there things that I could improve on in the next image? Absolutely. Are there things that I hate about this? Sure. I stared at it for 30 hours. But that is the seed that I need to keep going. I gave this image everything that I had, and I can see where it failed, and that's where I need to go next. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please drop a comment down below, subscribe if you liked it, share it with a friend if you really liked it, and I will see you in the next video.